Hey guys, James here today, and welcome back to the massively long-awaited episode 3 of Let's Create a World. Can you believe that this is back? It's been 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day since episode 2. I bet most of you didn't see this coming, to be honest, unless you were keeping up on Twitter. I was posting hints that this would be the sort of 5th anniversary, I don't know, celebration, the bringing back of the Create a World series. Yeah, so I was trying to come up with the best possible thing to do for my 5th anniversary on YouTube. And the one series and one of the most questions I get asked almost every video is, do more Let's Create a World, or go back to Let's Create a World, finish your world, put it up for download, that kind of stuff. And of course, I didn't respond. I had no intentions of ever returning to this world. But then I thought, that is a perfect thing to celebrate 5 years on YouTube, because the only reason I've done it for 5 years is because of all you guys. You guys have been there and you've supported me and you've let me do this for 5 years. If I was getting constant hate or I was doing something wrong, I mean, then I probably would have stopped. But of course, all of the support and all of you guys have made me get to this point, or have let me get to this point, and helped me get to this point. And what better way to reward you than giving you something that you've been relentlessly asking for? And that's what I've done. I've brought back Let's Create a World. And I will let you in on a little secret. I have finished the world, except for houses. I haven't built any houses yet. That will come later. But the world as a whole, like all the landscaping, trees, all that kind of stuff is all done. It has every single rabbit hole you need for the base game gameplay. So the world is done, like with community lots and that kind of stuff, except for houses. So we'll get to that later, but the world is done. So you don't have to worry about the series disappearing anytime soon. It's going to be around. I'm going to do 1 episode a day for this week, so you can see the whole process of what I've done, and you can see the world take shape over time. Obviously, we're going around now doing a lot of beach along this sort of rocky part here. I decided to join that up to the mainland with that sort of little sandbar there, because I was trying to figure out where I'd place all of the rabbit holes. And if you don't know what rabbit holes are, they're obviously like the community lot. So you have like the town hall, police station, military base, science lab, criminal hideout, all that kind of stuff. It's such a small island that I had to figure out where I could possibly place all this stuff. And so I've connected up that bit of land so I could place a building there. And the science lab actually ends up going there on that sort of separated island, which I thought was kind of cool and kind of fitting. Right now, I'm actually adding in some terrain paints, because at the moment I was only using the default game paints. I actually added in Island Paradise paints. It doesn't make you require Island Paradise. You do not have to own Island Paradise, because they're just texture files, so that's fine. So I've imported them, so it lets me do this sort of nice, really vibrant sort of tropical blue watercolor. And I also added in a few sands and I think a grass texture, just to sort of really make the world pop and give it a real sort of tropical vibe and make it just really nice. To be honest, it is super interesting to watch this again, because I actually did this part of the world quite a while ago. It wasn't that recently, because I've been working on this for like a couple of weeks now, 3-4 weeks, probably about a month actually. Actually a bit more, probably a month and a half I did this. I mean, when you put it all together, I think it's only about it's about 4 hours, 40 minutes sped up. So that's 4 times speed. So it was a pretty decent chunk of work to get it done. But when you sort of speed it up, it's not that long. Anyway, so I did this a while ago because I had the idea to finish this world for my 5th anniversary back probably about beginning of the new year. And I really wanted to do it. So I buckled down, I got it done, because I thought it's something that has to be done. It's one of those unfinished things on my channel that I'm really not happy about being unfinished. It had to be done. So right now I've sort of, excuse me, I've raised up the land underneath that water there, because that's it's become a really nice bay because I connected the land. So now it's this awesome little sort of bay area. And I've raised up the land underneath so you can see the ground underneath the water. And I've painted it with sand and then a layer of that sort of light blue tropical sort of color there. At the moment, I'm actually adding in a new pathway into the game. This pathway, again, the textures I think came from Island Paradise. Again, you don't need to own Island Paradise. It's just where I got the textures from. I was just using that so I could create a nice pathway that sort of blended into the sand and looked kind of nice and a bit different. Yeah, so because I connected the, there's no road that goes to the science lab. It's just a pathway that your Sims run along. It all works fine. And it goes well. It goes well. It does. yeah, fiddling around with the textures, trying to relearn all this stuff because Create a World, it's been a long time since I've actually used it. I mean, even a year ago when I did start this series, it had been a long time since I've used it, and I haven't used it since that year ago. So when I was working on the world here, I was also relearning the process, and I am by no means an expert on this program. I mean, I did my best, the best I can do. I was going to change the road, as you could see, I was sort of putting it out, but I didn't really like it. I kind of just kept it as this sort of default road texture because I thought it looked fine. And it went nicely. And I was actually really happy with the amount of lots I was able to fit onto this world. I think there's 60 plus lots. I mean, I'm going to have to actually count them later on, but I'm pretty sure there's at least 60 lots. And there's at least one 64 by 64 lot. So there's one full-size lot in the world. So you don't have to worry about having tiny lots and that kind of issue. There's quite a few big lots, but then there's also lots of smaller lots, like 20 by 30s and 20 by 15s. And you can see the town center there. That town center area does change quite a bit. I mean, a lot of this stuff does change over time, and you'll see it sort of develop. Right now, again, I'm considering where to put all the rabbit hole lots. Because I had to look up which lots were required for the base game to be able to function properly, because obviously your Sims need to go to work, they need to go to school, they need the town hall, they need the police station, they need all that kind of stuff. So I had to figure out what I needed and where it could possibly fit on this world, because it is a pretty small world, which it's a good thing and a bad thing that it's a small world. It's good because I'm pretty sure this will run quite nicely on lower end computers instead of having a giant world like some of the default game ones are, because they are quite big. But this is quite a nice, small, compact world. It also means that everything's much closer together. All the lots are sort of close by. And I think when the lots are placed in there, it will create a really kind of nice vibe and sort of community feel on the island. I think it'll be kind of cool. So yeah, I was just placing in lots that are going to be the community lots, as I said. Placing some up here. You'll see what they all are as we get into that. I think we do start building some of them in this episode here, in this part. And I haven't done speed builds for the specific community lots in this. All the houses on this island will be a speed build later on. But that will obviously develop over the weeks and months to come, because that will sort of replace my regular speed build series, or my house building series. So all my house buildings will more or less be for this island. Although I might revise that. I'll see how it goes. It's kind of just sort of playing it by ear. Right now, I'm sort of smoothing out the road in places where it's a bit wonky and it looks a bit weird, making sure it's all flat and properly aligned, because a wonky looking road doesn't look too good. So as you can see, I'm sort of just flattening out this road, making sure it's actually not got giant potholes everywhere. This whole area changes in a minute. I don't know when I do it. Maybe now, actually. It looks like I'm doing it now. I kind of added in a nice, really big beach area here because, again, the island was quite small. So I decided to add in a really nice sort of long, large beach area. And it's got a couple houses on it, and I think one sort of community lot goes there in the end. It gets bigger than it is now because I think that's still quite small, but it maybe it gets bigger. I don't know. I think it gets bigger. No, that doesn't look... Yeah, it definitely gets bigger a bit later on. I make it even lower, low to the ground. Yeah, watch out for potential tsunamis on this island. Could be dangerous. But no, I'm super excited to bring this series back to you because I assume and I hope you guys are going to love this series again, because it gets comments to this day on all my videos and on part 2 and part 1, where it's like, do more, why aren't you doing any more? At least release the world, for God's sakes, and all that kind of stuff. I was just super happy that I still had this world file on my computer, because, I mean, I had no idea if I still had it or not, but it was still there, thankfully, so I was able to continue it without a problem. And one thing I found really awesome is if you type in "let's create" onto YouTube search, it comes up with a list of suggestions. And I think the first or second suggestion is "Let's Create a World, Episode 3. And that's just awesome, because that means a lot of people are searching for Episode 3. And that means people will want it. So here it is. I've finally gotten it done, and I couldn't be happier. And like I said, there's going to be one episode of these per day for this week, and that will take us from this point in the world all the way to the completion of the world. So I've already completed it, like I said, so you don't have to worry about that. Doing some more sort of landscaping, fixing things up around the world. I will try also commentate on the world, like what I'm doing, as much as I can, adding some detailing in these sort of mountain cliff areas here, because it's a bit bland if you just use that one stone texture. So I got 2 others, sort of a dark I can't read it from here because the little preview window is tiny. I think it's just like a dark rock and a light rock. And so I kind of mix it into the textures of all the mountains. A lot of the mountains still have a lot of grass in the texture, but I kind of get rid of that a bit later on because there really shouldn't be that much grass everywhere. Steam there as well. Signing up for Steam because I didn't want Steam notifications popping up in the video there, but I was too late. Yeah, so just doing a lot of landscaping and adjusting. Oh, you'll see plenty of adjusting of landscapes throughout this series, but that's how it goes. So yeah, sort of mixing in all the different textures and colors and everything like that. This is by no means anywhere near done, by the way, so it progresses quite well. I really do love the final result. When I took a step back and actually looked at the world, I was quite happy with it. I don't know if it's perfect, and of course, I will need people to actually test the world when I publish it onto my website. I'm not going to call it like the world complete. It isn't complete by any means. Like I said, I still got to do all the houses on it, and also I do want people to test it because, like I said, I'm not an expert in this program, and there might be some issues. Sims might get stuck in certain locations, and it might be missing something or something like that. So I will require your help in that aspect to test out the world. Report back to me if there's some issues, possibly how to fix it or what you experience, because I will need help with that because I'm not an expert. Help would be good. And you can see that I've obviously placed in the science lab as I was talking there. That's where it goes. Going to go on this awesome stilted foundation there, which is available in the base game because it got patched in at some point. So, of course, if you're going to download this world, you will need the latest patch for your game. So you'll have to make sure your game is fully updated. Otherwise, I don't think this world will work for you. It also does use a couple of rabbit hole doors, which I will link on the download page when it's all up. And when I do release this world at the end of the week, I will do a full video explaining how to install it properly and make sure it all works and that kind of stuff. Because I want to make sure all of you can have a chance to play this and don't sort of run into too many issues with it. Because I really do want people to play with it. That's why I made it. This is actually I think this is the military base I'm doing now. So it goes on this little lot here. Do I make the lot bigger or do I? Or maybe I change it later. We're doing the school now. The school is actually a pretty cool one. This is one of the lots that uses a rabbit hole door. I only use 2 rabbit hole doors. I use one for the criminal hideout and one for the stadium. Because as you can see, the stadium is absolutely massive. And I don't think it didn't really fit this world to have a giant stadium. So I did something really interesting instead. At least I think it was pretty interesting. What I've done is I'm going to sort of fence off the sort of, I guess, playground of the school. And then I put in some sort of, I put in like a football field or if you want to call it a rugby field, which is, I designed it after a rugby union field. And I did like sort of bleachers on the side. And this building here is going to be the technical stadium. It's kind of just like I don't know, like a little sports room or something like that is the idea. It's a blank room on the inside, but it has the rabbit hole door, so it will act just like the stadium. That's the idea anyways. And you could see in my catalog just then, if you did, that's where I had all those sort of rabbit hole doors, which accidentally popped up in a Let's Play video one time. And I was like, oh no, that's giving it away. Because a lot of people did guess after I did that video that it was going to be, I was going to do Creator World. Now here what I'm doing is actually making a field. Like I said, I made a rugby field. It's largely out of scale. It's obviously way too small to be in reality, this field is way too small, and I think it's too wide as well. But I did this really cool sort of rugby posts. So I used these columns, I stacked them up 3 levels. I also moved them down about 1 height level there, sort of, so they're all joined properly and there's no gaps between them. And then I did like a little fence going along it to create like the sort of crossbeam, which you'll see me doing soon. So they're kind of like, they turn into sort of rugby posts, which I think is really, really cool. The only problem is if this were real and you kick the ball through the post, it would go over the fence and probably into the ocean, which is not ideal. But again, this is Sims and they're not actually going to use it. It's all for decoration. I thought it just looked pretty cool in the end. Having a bit of trouble with all this sort of I was trying to figure out the best way to sort of get these to place because you couldn't remove the floor once you placed the columns, which is a problem. So I had to figure out how to do that. And I think I used walls in the end to make it work. So I flattened it down and I was able to sort of place them on the walls, I think is how I did it. Yeah, so I do these posts and yeah. Unfortunately, there's no screenshots at the end of this video because I didn't have the foresight to take screenshots at the end of every episode. So we will see a bunch of screenshots at the end of the series, but for now we can't really get a good look at it. But this part is coming to an end. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're looking forward to tomorrow, because there's going to be a brand new episode tomorrow. Yeah, so this is celebrating 5 years on YouTube. So thank you everyone for allowing me to do this for so long. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you back tomorrow to see part 4. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, and have a fantastic day.